But what I want to start today with just with a series of little reflections and a little kind of story, which probably many of you have heard, or you may not have heard. And it's a story which really is to do with the early Muslim conquests of Egypt. And what happens is this, the story is this, that as you probably know, that the Royal Library in Alexandria was considered to be one of the most famous and one of the most well-stocked libraries on the planet. Then when the Muslims conquered Egypt, they got hold of Alexandria, where the library was supposed to be. And the story goes something like this, that a Coptic priest approaches the Muslim general, asks him what to do with the library, and being a good, dutiful general, like Muslim generals were in the early days, he writes off to the Caliph, says, "What should I do?" And the Caliph Umar replies something like this: "If the books agree with the Quran, we do not need them. If they're opposed to the Quran, destroy them." Now, this story is retold again and again and again and again several times. And people tell this story for different reasons. Now, for many people, this story sums up something about Islam. It's basically, it's fanaticism, it's to do with learning, anything to do, basically narrow, fundamentalist kind of idea that what Islam is. That basically they only have one book and everything else is nonsense. And this carries on so far. It's not just a kind of popular account, but I've seen semi-educated historians in universities told, oh, the Muslims have big libraries, like for example in Cordoba. They would say, yes, but all the books, you say that, there were 30,000 volumes, let's say in Cordoba, when the biggest library in Western Christendom only had 1,000 volumes. And they would say, yes, but the difference is that there were just 30,000 copies of the Quran. So there were no other books, it was just all the variation. Yeah, and this is really very serious historians who would say these sorts of things. So you can see where this comes from. Now the question for you, what I want to pose, and I'll try and answer this, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, so you'll have to come tomorrow if you really want the answer, is how do we understand this statement if it's true? Yeah? Now, immediate reaction many people would have is, this is just another example of Orientalism. Yeah? This is an Orientalist colony where Orientalists go around making up stories about Muslims and Islam, and this is just another version of it. Obviously, it can't be true. Okay. The problem with this story is the people who first tell it are Muslims, writing about 200-300 years after the event. It's Muslim chroniclers who are the source of that. So why would Muslims tell this story? So there's two things. There's a Muslim telling this story, and how the story then is reinterpreted by non-Muslims and other anti-Muslims and other people, and by Muslims themselves. Yeah? Okay. So that's what I want you to think about, and I'll try and respond to this maybe today, maybe tomorrow, depending on how I feel. But the next thing I want to focus on is a quote, which is the quote that I used to begin my new book. It's a quote by Ibn Khaldun. I suppose all of you can read it, but I'll let you read it. I'd like to suggest, okay, that's not a good idea because I don't know how fast you read. I'd like to suggest that maybe all of post-colonial thinking is simply a footnote to this quote. So I begin my book with this as an epigraph, but really it's a footnote. Yeah? And what I have to say now is really going to be a footnote to this quote. Because I think it captures with great acuity a sensibility, not just of the Muslim Ummah, but really the question about what do you do? How is oneself transformed through the consequences of a defeat at global level?